Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. Hang out with this nerd.
I'm Ted.
Today we're going to be talking about another Netflix original series, Stranger Things.
If you want to get weekly gaming tips or learn how to game with Nerdarchy, you can jump down to the description below and sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter.
So, 8 episodes. I pretty much shotgunned that thing in like 3 days.
3 or 4 days for me. It's a little bit harder to work around the work schedule sometimes. I will start off by saying there's number one. We'll probably mention some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, just stop, go watch it. It's
then
awesome.
come back and weigh in.
Then you can come back and watch this video. Number two, I'm going to start off by saying I enjoyed it, but I'm not a suspense guy. This is definitely a suspense thriller, that kind of stuff. So, if you like that kind of
Mild
stuff,
horror.
if you like that kind of stuff, go watch it. Just there you go. Disclaimer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of elements that get mashed into this one, to greater and lesser degrees. You have it's a drama, it's a suspense. There's sci-fi elements, there's horror elements. So there's a lot of different things going on, and one like the one of the stars of the show, one of the centerpieces to this whole thing is Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely.
The very beginning starts off with Dungeons and Dragons. It ends with Dungeons and Dragons.
Would you say these boys are supposed to be around like 10 to 12 years old?
Yes.
So you've got a bunch of kids.
Middle school. They're middle school.
Middle school. And so that actually puts them at what, 14
12
to 14.
Yeah.
It takes place in 1983, and the entire thing is shot and done as a full 1983 movie, essentially. And for those of us old hats, I thought it was awesome from that standpoint. There's so many things that it harkens back to, even to the point where in one of the episodes they pulled out this green Tupperware container. If you didn't live through this time frame, that's not going to be in any way, shape, or form significant or meaningful. But to me, I remember using that kind of thing. So all of those little nuances, just well done. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because, a little while back, my nephew, Billy, was talking about, I don't know if it was him or one of his classmates, and Billy is close to your son's age.
Right.
And, they're like, we always lose the phone. If only there was, a rope or a string that would attach the phone to the wall or something. So the way things go full soon. So some people, like my kids, would see this movie and see a phone, a rotary phone, and they've never seen one in real life before. I don't think so. There's definitely some things. Even the way the movie was shot, the way it was, the film style really spoke of E.T. It spoke of Encounters of a Third Kind, the filmography. What would you call it? The
filmography.
The style. It was really gritty and granular. And it had a texture to it.
I would agree with that. I felt for me, it harkened back to a time that I was familiar with, and things that were accepted back then you would just see. The one of the main characters, Officer Hop. We have a cheat sheet here because our memory is not always what it.
Well, not only that, I guess when I first started seeing thing after thing show up on Facebook and all over the internet, I'm like, all right, what is this? I gotta check this out. And then literally one night around 8-9 o'clock, I started watching. Watched a couple episodes. The next day, I watched another 4 episodes, and then I killed it on the third day.
So one of the main characters, the chief of police in the town of Hawkins. His first scene, he wakes up, he's drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette, and then just gets in the car. And it's that kind of thing just isn't really acceptable in today's society. You can't drive with a little bit of alcohol in your system. It's illegal. No.
But back then, he may have taken that beer with him to the car.
So it's interesting, the hairstyles, the clothes. It's all things that are very, very familiar, and It's just awesome.
It's funny too, like, my different friends on Facebook, depending who it is, they're throwing out names like Alien and Firestarter and like, different movies that this kind of brought back the nostalgia for.
Right. So let's actually get into the actual show rather than just the visual elements of it. It starts off with
in the feels.
It starts off with these boys playing D&D, and you've got
for 10 hours. And they're like, oh, that's how we used to do it back in the day.
They jammed for a 10-hour session. I believe it was supposed to be a Saturday night, and they're going through all the motions. You've got the table set up with the miniatures and the DM screen. It's awesome, and when the problem arises, like the players, the boys are yelling at each other across the table because the DM is kind of giving them like the shot clock, if you will. They only have so much time to make a decision, as opposed to all right, what are you gonna do? All right, let me think about this. What am I? No, it's like boom, you need to know. 3, 2. All right, it's like it was really awesome. I don't know if there was shot clocking back in your old school days. I don't really remember that kind of stuff, but
absolutely there was. As kids, we're yelling at each other, telling each other what to do. No, you're doing it wrong. Don't do that.
So
we told Stephanie he wasn't allowed to cast spells anymore without permission from the other players. He had to run it by us.
And the real craziness happens when you find out that there's some kind of monster that's out there, and then you've got this escaped girl who we find out has got some kind of superpowers. So you've got D&D themed backdrops, and
plenty of references.
It's referenced throughout.
Star Wars references. It has that ET feel to it. Mm-hmm. There's the way the kids interact with their parents definitely makes you feel like the ET movie.
Right.
And so that I had to rack my brain. I'm like, at first I was like, I didn't get the whole ET parallel.
Well, you have essentially a being that's got powers. You got kids who are willing to stay home or what's the word, like,
yeah, they hide it from their parents.
Hide it from their parents, and like disobey. That's what I'm looking for. Disobey their parents, willing to. Well, what? I'm just going to go out and solve this problem on my own, and that was kind of the ET feel to it. You've definitely got the bike riding stuff, as opposed to the being of power sitting in the basket, sitting behind Mike. So like you've got that whole feel.
And the acting was so good.
Yeah.
In the whole thing. Winona Ryder was in it. But that's the only real.
That was the only name. Everybody else, I feel was an unknown going into it. What else do we want to say here? You've got paranormal,
monster
hunting investigations, and it's all dealing
alternate dimensions.
Oh man. The what was it, the upside down?
Yeah, the upside down.
It just was really well done.
And the relationships were really good. The relationships between the boys, when they had the extra tension of adding this girl into it, 11L, the way they interact with their parents, and then the boys interacting with the one sister, and how that all comes together. Will, the missing boy, his brother. How he's kind of like an outcast, an outsider, and a bit of a freak.
Right.
The one teacher, the science teacher, that is kind of like a mentor to these boys.
Yep. Through the AV club.
As well as they have that as well, and also the bullies. These kids are being hassled and bullied. Of course, you're playing D&D. What do you expect? You're not going to be one of the cool and popular kids back then. That's for sure.
I have to say that. Like with sometimes when you watch a show or a movie, you can see that it is scripted, that it is something that's written, and you had said that the acting was really good. I also have to say that the script was really good, because between the acting and the script, everything that you watch, it seemed real. It
was very organic.
There wasn't anything that felt like this was a forced situation, or like a single line that's like, no, I don't think it would happen that way. The interactions between the bullies and the boys, and the essentially the high school kids, and how they all interacted in their circles. It was very organic. It felt very real, and there wasn't anything that I felt wound up being a forced situation. So it made it draw you in that much more.
Yeah, you like okay, episode 8, it ends, right? Thistle Hydra. But I'm like, if are they going to do a season 2, and is it going to be the same characters? That was a big concern of mine. Like, I kind of want to see these boys come back.
Well,
or is it going to always be like a different Stranger Things?
I feel that there's going to be a second season. It definitely ends in a way that a thriller suspense show should. That it's like, all right, is the problem solved or not? And
it's perfectly bookended, like the way they started. They ended the way they started, in a sense, and it was perfect.
So it's what I see as the possibility. So there's multiple angles. Number one, it could move. The plot line could move somewhere else.
Could like every season be basically an episode of the Twilight Zone?
Right. You have the ability to say, you know what, because of these extenuating factors, we're going to keep it where it is, but we're going to move it along by several years. And say, all right, 2, 3, 5, whatever you want to call it, and keep it right in there, and use these same characters. I found Elle as a very compelling character, so we don't exactly know what happens with her.
And we also know that, like, there's something going on with. Well, I'm not going to tell you guys that. That's too spoiling. But there's definitely it's open ended enough to go back to this and tell more in this story. Mm-hmm. And really, like, my first thought when it ended was, okay, does it stop now? And season 2 is somewhere else with a different cast of characters, because basically these 8 episodes, season 1 made me really like these characters, and I want to see more of them.
I'll agree with that. I absolutely would like to see what happens.
But I can't fault them if they go like each season is a different Stranger Things. Like, that would still be cool. And if every season they can make me fall in love with the characters and piss me off for the next season with new characters, that would be awesome.
That speaks to another needle point for me. I can't stand I can't stand when I read a book, watch a movie, that it's like, all right, You like these characters, now we're not going to tell you anything more about them. Or, like, when you watch Game of Thrones and that character, they're like, oh, they're dead. Like, it's just utterly irritating to me. So, like, I want them to carry on with these characters. My hopes is we take it a couple years and we see this whole group again as they've evolved and seen what this has done to them and how they've grown and dealt with the situations.
So here's my thing, mm-hmm. right? Well, I agree with that to an extent, but to another point, it's like, well, the way this season unfolded and ended was kind of perfect. Mm-hmm. If you revisit that, you can mess it up. You can ruin it, right? Or they can give us more of a great thing. It could go either way.
It's true,
but
I have confidence in the team that brought it out there. Everything together was, I don't want to say perfect, but it wraps it up nice and neat. And if they wrote this good a script the first time and these actors did that good a job, I can't see them not doing the same with the second season.
My fear is getting like a Supernatural, where you get basically like different variations of the same story over and over again. Mm. And I wouldn't want to see that. So, like, I feel like the strength of having like the Stranger Things seasons be their own self-contained thing kind of like insulates against that.
Right.
Where they get to tell new stories at different places.
That is true. And it is entirely possible to go down that road. It's just one of those stabs into me that I don't like. So I'd prefer that we just carry on, continue.
We'll have to see.
What do
Season two.
you guys think? What are you hoping for? Did you watch it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What are you hoping for in season 2? Put all that down below. While you're at it, like, share, even subscribe.
You can check us out over on Facebook.
So until next time, stay nerdy.